So I will go ahead and open the joint project and finance committee meeting for the tax financing reinvestment zone 1. Do we have any public, first item on our agenda, public comments?
No, there aren't.
Okay. Second item is just our regular agenda, which is to receive an update on the reinvestment zone number 1 financing plan and project plan from 2024 to 2062 to include but not limited to the discussion of review of current projects underway or scheduled, and then B, discuss possible future amendments to the financing plan and project plan. So I think we actually haven't done one of these in a while, which this is great practice, to do these, as there's a lot that goes on from the finance committee and with Tracy and Melissa and her team, and then John with the project committee, and then also in coordination with TDC and the land fund. So what we're trying to do at this meeting is to try to just get us all in the room and talk through, make sure that our numbers match our projects. I've talked to Tracy. I don't know if we want to start, Tracy, with you or with the projects.
What the project chair.
Okay, John, you want to start?
Yeah, and usually you and I are married up, and this is definitely gonna be an exercise that's very different than I'm usually used to. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that we got this master plan going, right? And a bunch of our time has been there, so I've got blurred lines between the master plan, bunch of land deals that have been going on, right, and our actual board. And so, I just got back from vacation like he did, and I'm drowned deep. So just to give you a quick understanding that this isn't quite as organized as I usually am. This is what our board is looking at doing. Can I have this work? Did I do something to make this?
Is it turned on?
There. So what I'm really gonna do is take a look at our current projects, just so we can get an update on actually what's going on out there. There's a few that aren't in here, we can talk about them, and then we'll hand this thing over to Tracy. The amendment really is more focusing on some bond money that we can recalculate and get some dollars so that we can actually, I think, backfill both projects and some land purchases. But just for those that we haven't really spent the time looking at it, if you've been out to the north and looking at this project, it's really going good. David, explain the numbers on each one of these, just when we.
So those are literally the numbers in the current financing plan that Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, that was at February that we put that last one out? Of 25?
Yes.
So from February 25, those are where those are, just as a reminder of at that time, that's where construction admin was that number at that time, and then construction was at 26, and obviously month to month, we're paying money to those items that are getting construction and the admin associated
So are
with
these
it.
numbers that are out or remaining?
So this would be remaining funds as of the February 2025 updated financing plan.
Perfect. For those who haven't seen it, I agree it is.
David, I assume all the drainage has worked,
Yes,
work.
yeah. And we actually got a comment from that culvert there from the contractor before we started having rains, that we way oversized it. And after the first rain, they said, oh, no, we nailed it.
So
When was this Zoom taken?
This one is about 3 weeks old. We try to be very up to date on these, but obviously quite a few projects going on. We try to hit them at least monthly. And so this one's about 3 weeks old.
you can see they've actually started on the other side of the tracks finally. Which this has been pretty dead for the last 6 months on this side of the tracks.
Yeah, I think their focus, or what they've said their focus is BN is, BN's that break. And they are challenging to deal with because of the right of way that they have there, which is quite large, and there's specific requirements every time they're working in and around that. And so the goal is to get that bridge poured, get out of BN, and then now they've got access where they don't have to cross that railroad.
Does this have a pause?
There should be at the bottom when you get that, we'll click that little line in the middle.
Hey, pause it. It looks like they've not yet. Keep going. Sorry.
Keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Come on. Pause it when you get, I'll show you when you. They have started the dirt work, right?
Yes, on the south side.
Pause right there. Oh, we missed it. That's a real short. Zip it back a little. Can you just take a teeny back? I know you guys, this is part of that right there. That's part of that change order. So that's everything on the south side of that loop, just where the gray dirt is. And it's just interesting. I have not seen that, so that is pretty new as much
And
is
they're
going on. And that's just making that whole side.
More cut, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a big portion of that change order was with the city property is they just had a big knoll right there. But that's a really good thing that's gonna happen.
Does that stay on site or did it go?
No, yeah, we graded it so that it balanced, because right, what happens is you got two tributaries of Little Elm, so you've got low, big hill, low, and we're trying to spread that out so that the city can develop that piece of property, and so we're taking the hill down and spreading it where.
Any questions on that? This is Old Howard, as you know, we've been working on getting this together for a land purchase also. We may talk about that in executive session a little bit. Okay. But we'll do an executive session if we get to it. This is Old Howard, we've added a little bit of that Windland Road and some projects to the north. So that will be within our next meeting, we'll be actually voting to get that Windland Road started. We're gonna do all the design work, but when we get into the financing portion of this, we'll see that it's.
If you go back, there are actually two parts to this, and we're looking at, so there's Power Drive, which is kind of the east-west, and then Windland extension that goes north-south. So, we're looking at basically the money that we have. We're only gonna be able to release the north-south.
We're probably gonna go from here right up to the intersection, I would say.
Yeah, but we're going ahead and designing all of it.
We gotta design the whole thing. As soon as we get the money, we would like to do that.
Yeah,
I think one of the keys is right in this area right here is a fire station. And so we want to be able to convey over to the city that fire station lot so that they are prepared. And so that's what really got added in there was making sure that really our original project was just gonna take it up to here. And we're finishing these two roads out to give ourselves a good hard corner for that fire station and to be able to take Power Drive over to Old Howard to have some good access for the fire. So
David, though, your design covers that, everything that's shown on here, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, so just for our purposes though, this committee, we're gonna design it all, but we don't have the money to pay for it all. So then go to the next slide, John. That.
639.
639 designs everything, but then in our financing plan, when we get to it, we only have enough money basically to pay for the Windland extension north.
Yeah, and the OPC for the whole project
8.5.
is 8.5, and we were able to allocate 4.6 million.
Yeah.
To construction, so it's not. Construction.
Is that where, David, can you tell us where that gets us? Does that get us both of those cul-de-sacs, or does it just? If we had 4.6, making sure that we had a contingency, those.
See, there's a couple things that are going on in here. One is to bring sewer and water across also. So in that project, it has water, sewer and the roadway probably up to the intersection is what I think the number you gave us,
8.5.
4.6.
Well, 8.5, so 8.5 is both of the Power Drive and the Windland.
Right.
Okay, so what, if we only have 4.6?
We'll run those numbers. My guess is, because John's exactly right, that we've got 12-inch water line that's feeding up from Windland Road and going to that intersection as well as a 10-inch wastewater line that'll serve that fire station. We were able to make that work gravity, so we didn't have to do a lift station or anything of that nature for that fire station. So I think And we'll, again, run the numbers, but I feel confident that for 4.6, we can get to the intersection with utilities, Windland extension.
To the intersection of power.
Of
Yeah.
power.
And we really just need to rerun those numbers. I'm fairly confident that's the numbers he gave us. The problem was this project sort of had legs like all our projects do, which is, he started with just the water sewer and a dead end up here. Where we put the intersection in, and then in the land negotiations, we sort of went over here, so that we could get to a tract of land that needed to be getting to other than the fire station, so. Talking in code really just because there's some land purchases we don't want to talk about, so we'll do this in a little bit. Some of this makes sense as we can move on a little bit, so. The big deal for our next meeting is we're gonna be voting the 693-8 to release David to design that whole project. The downtown city center, which is looking good. You can see, I think a key to this is that we're getting Bo and his group reopened up down here in Fourth. Just as an update, we are not going the whole distance. We're gonna release that until after the festival so that we don't have to shut down the roadway, Avenue A, just because it's gonna have so much traffic. I think that you really, if you look at this project, it's really looking good as you drive around down there. And that's your 4th Street that we're doing the yellow portion now, and then the red we will release after the festival.
What's the timeline there? To
Which
finish
one?
that section? Finish that section of Fourth?
The
What
yellow,
we're on right
In
now,
front of-
we're in good shape to be done for the festival for September 12th. Have some cushion in there, hoping for the rain holds off. So this video you're about to see is only about a week old. We actually poured the section from, in front of the Bird Creek's main entrance last Thursday. So this week, where subgrade was done, we should have basin this week and start curve next week, which I mean, really is kind of getting us there. I would say worst case scenario, if we do get, some rains that are unfortunate, it would be things that we would scaling, which
Okay.
we could live with, for the festival. We're making really good progress now if the rain's left.
That's because of the race, having to buy a very good colonnade boardwalk to,
Yeah,
get everybody.
yeah, and that's built, I mean, it was just some wood, people, it's more just to keep folks from trying to walk up into that construction area.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
and when you see this, if you've been down there, the Bird Creek's little garden area, that was not part of the project, that was Bo, and that, you guys have done a really good job. I mean, it looks good as you see this. You know, if this thing is loading. Yeah. But that, I mean, this whole project's really coming together well. Well, how are you guys gonna access that from the, is that gonna be like a little festival area for you or play area?
Yeah, so, yeah, we're putting in an entrance specifically from Bird Creek, so it's just be some additional outdoor seating for folks. We're putting tables in, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly.
That's
what
the
we-
boardwalk thing she's talking
Okay.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we want to happen down there.
Yeah.
So thanks to Bo for doing that, but one thing, and I don't know, just, I don't. Actually, Bo and I were having lunch the other day, in that front table of Bird Creek, and in 15 minutes saw 3 cars go the wrong way
On Central.
on Central.
It's ready to be two-way, it feels two-way.
Literally, there was 3 cars that went, and I was like, that's the 3rd one, so I texted Brent from the deal of like, so I don't know signage wise or whatever. but
Yeah.
Somebody,
We asked Public Works Streets, to take another look at it, there are one-way signs.
Yep.
It's people getting confused.
Stop sign says one way.
And see if they can make it
yeah,
more.
The other thing we could, but you've got that, sometimes they do work a little better, the trees, the no turns.
Yeah,
But they're one ways there on the stop sign.
I know people have to get used to it. There was 3 cars in 15 minutes going the wrong way.
We've been down there for over 20 years now, and they've been doing it for 20 years.
When do we put a bow on this project? I mean, just the 4th Street, is that, well, never happened, but when does the actual city center, do you think it's gonna be bought off and done?
As far as the one we're in right now,
Yeah,
I think we'll be 1st of September, as long as we don't get rain, 1st September, we're landscaped out and ready to roll.
it's really, the 4th Street is an additional project, right? It is
Yeah,
no
we're-
longer city center, we will shut city center down and move over to It's a 4th Street project and moving to it like an Avenue A project.
Yeah, we're planning on advertising that one in August. So that right after the festival, we can jump into it.
Another project that you can see that's going on. This has been a lot of fun. Every day they dig a hole, they find something. You know, it seems like we get our weekly call about, well, hey, instead of this, we need to go there. So it's what happens when you're along the tracks like this and on the track of land in downtown, these projects are, you know, every day have something. It also is starting to feel good. How rain gonna hurt us, Steve, as far as getting this thing?
It's getting closer to where you get past the point of the rain affecting us, but it's not quite there yet. It's a lot of landscaping, so.
I believe we got a little bit of a change order on this. Why don't you run through that?
Yeah, so this change order is specific, back up one specifically. If you recall, the city found those Santa Fe letters. And we were gonna try to utilize those with the market. Once we were able to get our hands on them and take a look at them, there were some metal edges that just were unsafe. And so this change order allows us to get letters manufactured. It still gives us that look that you see, but in a safe manner, because they are gonna be accessible by children and whoever. And so,
So they're not the same ones that were purchased.
that's correct. Right, we're still gonna use elements of what was bid, so all the substructure, the connections, all those things, landscape, but the letters themselves are having redone to get that look.
That's
Just
unfortunate.
for a safety standpoint.
I'm just to use those letters and now it becomes part of the project, but we're not actually using the letters.
So we're not using them, can we use them anywhere else? Can we put them up high enough where they're not accessible to kids?
Yeah, we talked about that, and then we had some concerns over that as well, as far as, with the structure and how you would mount those up. And, the consensus from everyone was, let's get a price to manufacture them rather than to use the historic ones, and that's where we. But you'll see, and this one's probably a little over a week old. The last one was about a week old, and so it's starting to come along pretty well. This is before we found all the fun on the fire lane on the south side of the community market. And, that's continued to be fun, and just, we gotta get out of it, like all the downtown stuff, we gotta get out of it.
Rock's looking good out there with the reclaimed garage. I think that's turned out really good to see.
I think it's probably the word for the financing, I mean, for the project group. I mean, these type projects fit right in. We got the Blue Zone report. I'm not sure, you know, how much of that has been distributed yet, but as that starts working its way out, that there's a lot of emphasis on this type of stuff from a public policy and planned environment. So I think like all the stuff that we're doing, including farmers market and walk trails, fits into their report nicely. So I think it's worth, I guess my point is that
Yeah,
it's a
it's
good
gonna be a
project.
great project.
Steve, do you have any suggestions of how to keep water out of the loading dock areas?
Yeah, we've actually done and sent in a detailed note on how to do that. Where we filled it in, got it to drain back to the east, put, poly there so it wouldn't get under, and put concrete over top of it.
So it will,
Go away.
Right, and that has not been incorporated into the project as of yet.
Another
just-
change order.
And we just, and so Austin and Brittany are y'all's PMs on that. We've sent that detail.
How much is it?
We haven't priced it yet, but we can.
This is, you know, we're now concentrating, this is a long story, make a long story short, we now are back down to one line and we're designing it. Phil David, sort of happy to finally get to one line, and what, for the last 4 years, every time you pop this slide up, it had 7 different things, because the state wanted us, now we're concentrating on this line. And there, you know, again, it's already been released, right, and we're just ratifying estimated amount of 1,098,000 to get this thing up and running again. Where are we?
Yeah, so the 1,098,000 was what went to council, but Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was the funds the zone is putting in are the funds that were already in the financing plan, not any additional.
I guess maybe,
That was a bit confusing when it came over.
we haven't talked either, all this stuff, so how do we get to one line? Are we now funding it, or did we get the state to?
No, we
This,
moved it out of the state.
yeah, this was a K-Tempo project that it wasn't funded, it was on a funding list, it wasn't approved. And we've gone through the state and everybody agreed that what you see, this is being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you see on the map was what we would do. Once it hit the federal level, they wanted us to develop multiple alternatives, which is not uncommon, which we did. And everybody still, we had reasons why this was the best solution. Supposedly on the south side of the BNSF, there was a historic dairy at that location.
Right in here.
And that turned out to be very problematic, with federal funding. And it's my understanding that, the city manager's office decided, it's really not a funded project, it's on a funding list, let's go attack this on our own. And not, because we're gonna have to go do environmental clearances for all three routes. Which was, you're about to do
Basically
15
starting-
miles of environmental clearance, which is gonna cost, $1,000,000 by itself. And so it became pretty evident really fast.
The federal funding piece is relatively small anyway, right?
Right.
And so it seemed more advantageous for us to take this over and go the route that makes the most sense. It's already been coordinated with TxDOT. They have the design. They are incorporating that into the I-14 expansions. So that's the direction.
Again, that's a good, project to get back up and running. We are always just sort of doing right away and initial design. And so it got hung up when we went to the state, now it's back on our plate, and we're just spending the money to add in it.
To get it
To get
to
it.
where it can go forward and to, K-Tempo gives us the money.
Well, I didn't kick it.
I think we're just
Sure, back to-
designing.
Back to the same.
No construction dollars right now, all we're really doing is getting this thing.
$65 million.
We have a portion in our TCIP that holds that.
This is one of those, that 65 million is flying it, right, David?
Correct.
And you doing that great or no, your plans and everything will be a fly, period.
Yeah, we will have a bridge over over Fires Creek, sorry.
It's a
And
really
we'll also have one over Charter Oak and the B.
So does this route then utilize, I think some property's already been purchased. Does this incorporate the purchased property already, or is that now not part of the deal?
Still that's the route for what
Okay.
we're back on.
Okay,
And you can go in there and click around and you can see what they've bought and what they have, if you get on about that and see where we are. So we'll be talking about this, as this just up and running, again, we're ratifying the decision that this council already made to use our funds that we already had, and then to add some of theirs, and then push this thing back forward, the way I understand it, with no construction dollars to complete the project, which is approximately 65 million. And we're not using K-Tempo, and we're just getting the plans done. Then we'll see where we go.
so does that enable us to take that K-Tempo money and move to another project and utilize that money in some way?
Whatever they do.
We would, whatever our next available project
whatever.
is, we would then just, this one comes off the list.
Got it. We don't lose that K-Tempo.
So, yeah,
which we allocate.
We're not necessarily losing a slot, we're just,
Yeah.
which we didn't really. Kind of had a placeholder, but it wasn't a place in line, it was just, it's on the list, future funding.
Yeah.
So any project that we had.
You had to get
below
through all that whole
falls in the
state
same category
deal
now.
where we
Yeah.
get onto the list. We're back to where we started, I think, which is a good spot. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Marine Drive, yeah, we're done this good looking project, if you've been out there.
Really what we're down to on this one is getting grass established.
You can go out and drive it.
Where did we end up relative to budget on that?
We'll be able to give some money back.
When?
It's not a ton of money back, but, we, on my top of my head, 100,000 or less, it's not, nothing to get this week or week about, but we were under budget.
That's good.
That is good.
It's a really good looking project too, being done.
Not only under budget, but on time.
A little easier when you're not fighting traffic.
It is, very much so.
So that's gonna be our board meeting. I will tell you that I've asked David to add a couple other projects in here just because as an update, which is the Veterans Boulevard. You know, it's been a while for us, been some emails popping around on there. It sounds like we've settled in pretty good with what they're gonna allow us to do. I think he's been not fighting, but working through the grant to see if they're gonna cover landscaping or not. I think you got that worked out. Detention pond, just working, do a few things there, also just as far as getting the questions done with the TCLEC or
TCQ, yeah, we got, about 3 weeks ago, we got a interesting question from TCQ on the model, which typically you get that way up front. We answered literally 5 minutes, but it restarts it.
But that's something you'll see on this presentation at the full board level for us to talk through.
Have you got the right entry and everything squared on the detention pond land? Have we done that yet? Eric, you know,
The-
for the detention pond land,
We have right entry on the detention
or
pond
like
land
to where y'all
on
can start? I don't know if I don't know if Michael signed what we
the
can
Veterans
sign.
Memorial Project.
I know Kayla, I think Kayla was working on a document.
He's worked on the agreement.
Yeah, it seems like it's already, but I don't know if it's been signed, if you have it. It'd be nice to finalize that, David, in our presentation, just give us some timelines on kicking that off, just, just. Most of the projects you've seen, we've started. The two that we've talked a lot about are the Veterans Boulevard and then Third Street. Those are both, and that's going over to GISD, that's. I guess that financing wise, talking to David, we put that, did we pause the button because of dollars being used in other places? The Third Street overpass, or
We have not yet.
we didn't pause it, so if he got us approved, we could start it. No,
I
Wait,
think
tell
it
me,
might
subject
depend
to
on
council.
one land sale. Land
Yeah.
sale.
which is a little bit, like one of the things we're gonna talk about here in a little bit going, I think we need to go on an executive session when we do that, because there's so many land deals that we don't need, mess with, EDC on, but. The 3 projects, in addition to what you've just seen, is the Veterans Boulevard, which, getting real close to where we're gonna be able to get that out the door. Third Street overpass, that hiking bike trail, which connects up to the GISD transportation and food service, whatever they call it, and I think the other one is the old Howard, and that you can put in that change for the, contract for that change order. Just before that, if you'll do me a favor, let's add it. Right,
Oh, you want to add Old Howard 1 in there?
yeah. Probably like right in here. Let's talk about Old Howard before we go into the change order.
Okay. You
Right,
want me to
because
put,
this change order is just for the power road in Winland, in real terms, just for our meetings, our whole boards, let's go ahead and talk about Old Howard. Old Howard is pretty much, where are you at, 90% set? 100, so you're done, we can release that as soon as we can release that.
and then, Old Howard 2, we are August 4/30.
You wanna talk about the planning and needing?
I'm gonna put that all in that, in executive, just so you can explain it more. And so, and I think, I don't know if anybody in here needs to go, I think we just need to set anything off, who's gonna make that call, Kathy? I mean, we're not there yet, we're gonna, yeah, we'll be done. But I don't know, you know, I think we just need to shut that. Shut that, I don't think, do you think any of the discussion is anybody in here we need to worry about?
I guess without knowing specifically.
Or we could venture into any of them.
We'll have to leave it up.
I would change that. How do you close it down and snag it out?
Yeah.
Just everybody in here's dealing with it, you guys.
Yeah,
There's right away, he's dealing with it. You also, these two, they're dealing with it. I think everybody in here is probably. Buford, I don't know. If we can finish any.
Everything.
You're right, measure. Might as well know now.
Hold on, before we go into,
I don't even have it.
I know, before we go into executive session, we need to talk about financing.
Yes, we do. And we also have lunch. if we'll-
Okay,
We had a passed out a piece of paper. It had the financing plan amendment on it. On the top section is the source of funds. And I'll go through these pretty quickly. But we had some money allocated for some land along Old Howard River, was it? That one tract of land we don't need anymore or not. Anyway, that's 1.2 million, we brought that as a source. And then the major source of funds through this amendment is a little over 5.3 million. And our recent bond refunding that we did, for the reinvestment zone, we were able to, on the 2018 issue, we had been required as part of the issuance covenants was to maintain a reserve fund that was maximum annual debt service for the life of the bonds. But with our recent rating and some more diversity within the fund, or within the reinvestment zone, we were able to get an insurance, surety insurance to replace the reserve fund. That surety, policy does require still meeting certain times coverage requirements, certain things that we fell below something, we'd have to fund a reserve
are
fund.
they the same for each bond?
Yeah, it'll be for all three of them.
What is it?
The actual, I'll get it to you in
Okay.
just a second.
Before you go any further on, so. I think Gary and I were in a meeting where this came up, but just to explain what that is. Effectively, in each one of those bonds, the three separate issuances, I guess, the underwriter required us to hold back a portion of the bond proceeds that could be held in reserve to pay a debt service payment in the event that regular income, budgeted income from the zone didn't cover it. So it was basically effectively dead money, which Gary and I fought when we did it. We were having to do it, but when we did it, you know, we had a huge concentration of the zone's income that was to Panda. And so from an underwriting standpoint, their point was if anything happened with Panda cash flow, it could jeopardize the cash flow of the zone, which I mean, Panda actually did have something come through and we came out of it. But because of all the work that PDC's done, we've been able to diversify our tax base, and Tracy and Melissa, great job of going back and fighting to get rid of it. Because from my perspective, that is $5 million of debt money. So basically that money has just been sitting there, you know, earning a nominal interest rate that, as opposed to being able to be used for projects. And now, so it's basically like $5 million that is released as if they were, you know, bond funds that we originally had. We actually get to use them to do projects now. So good job to Melissa for finding it.
And as Tyler mentioned, those reserve accounts were funded with bond proceeds, so you have the same streams you had on the bond proceeds with those reserve funds. And that's how we've allocated them to projects.
And
Right.
we're always way more conservative internally than what those actual covenants are. Right?
Line 6 through 9 are just accounting, transactions to record refunding of the bonds. The actual savings on the bonds were, close to 17,000 a year through the life of the bonds. We also recognize that savings in the year 26 through, I think it's 42. But I don't have all those other years on the plan, and then the truck,
Sorry, did we, extend the bonds at all, or is it the same maturities?
cemetery,
Yeah, so basically we refinanced
right,
effectively.
the same 70,000 a year. Then the use of funds, we allocated the 1.2 million. That from the land acquisition that we no longer purchase the land. 1.1 to the outer loop contingency. And also, John, would like to touch on there's a change order pending on the upsizing from the railroad to. I forget that connection,
Yeah, on the sewer
the
line.
wastewater line.
Yeah.
Brad wanted to go over that, today if we could. And then there's the 20 and 21 or what we have to pay for the surety policy on lines 3 and 4 above. And then, line 22 or 23 and 24 is allocating the design of Woodland Road Extension and Power Drive. And then the allocation of is what's remaining of those reserve funds to construction of 4.6 million. And then again, 26, 27, 28 is the bond refunding. And all along through the next few years, we still try to maintain the 2 million in fund balance. And we just allocated the savings of the bonds at this point to come to in years 26 through or 20, beginning 26 through the life of the bond.
Tracy, on 20 and 21, those are one-time payments to the surety
Yes.
to replace the reserve, essentially. And so is that surety protection throughout the remaining life of the bond or just for a certain period?
Through the remaining life of the
Remaining
bond.
life of the bond?
There's certain conditions if you, like, Tyler had asked what. We gotta maintain a Moody's investor service rating of Baa2 or above. You have to have at least, times coverage of 1.5.
Mhm.
And then if you did fall below that, it would allow you 36 months to fund the reserve. So, yes, it is through the life of it.
So your 1.2 on item 17, that contingency will take care of that sewer line change order. Is that what that is or no?
Yes, it would take care of that. It would have what, 400,000 left over for contingency.
Is that change order going straight through you? Is that come through the zone? That's really.
It typically would come through the zone. Is it submitted for August 7th, right now, that change? For the. Not, it would need to come to the zone.
Yeah. Because the zone, I think in our last meeting, gosh, we had so much water, but I think we had approved that our portion of upgrading that sewer line from Niagara to the tracks. Then on the other side of the tracks, there's been work that needs to get done and just finish out that project. And so we're picking up up to that, we are equal. We're gonna pick up a portion of that out of this 1.1. Is that?
I asked James to join us in case I played this incorrectly. He reached me on it this morning, so I had to get reoriented on the project. So if you'll recall, there's really two primary parts to the project that we talked about several months ago. So the first is the upsizing of the wastewater line from its terminus, which is essentially at Niagara, to the railroad. And so that OPC was, I think, around 3.3 million. And then there was the portion under the railroad, which was a portion that the city of Temple felt like we could self-perform, and we did. And then this section is something we didn't really talk about at that point. So it takes, and James, tell me if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me. but the LEO one wastewater line, that's part of the outer loop, goes to a certain manhole. And this section goes from where we slip line under the railroad to that manhole that LEO one as part of the outer loop project connects. If we don't replace this, then it still leaves us a bottleneck where we essentially have less than 1 million of capacity. If we replace this section and dropped it down, so an 18-inch line and dropped it down to a lower grade, then that would give us almost 9 million in capacity. And so it really connects to the work that was already part of the outer loop, and then it connects to the work that is part of this project. I forget the name of it, but the line that serves Site 64. So our recommendation, we could do just a portion of it. But it really wouldn't make sense. In my mind, it doesn't get us, it would be something we would have to come back and do later again, to get us all the way to the outer loop. So, staff's recommendation is to do all of it right now, and that this was outside of the original project we talked about.
So we'll be using contingency funds. We got 1.1, but it won't take the full. It's like a 600,000, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
That change order? And some of that change order has to do with pumping, because that's a line too, right, David? I mean, so you gotta think about, there's a lot of flow already going through that, so they got a big portion of this is just pumping that. That's why you want to do this right, just get it done. So
And then
That's-
that would be the last kind of choke point, and it would be full 9 million capacity if we did it to the.
So is that change order coming, is gonna be on our agenda or no?
It will need to be on the agenda.
Will it make this agenda?
Can't make Wednesday mornings.
Okay.
So
So
are
can we can talk about it and have it, non-voted on, can we at least talk about it and say that because that project needs to keep going, then maybe we can ratify it, and so not do a vote and see if there's anybody got any problems with looking at this at a future time.
So
That's
are
okay.
we wanting to put it on our financing plan, Tracy?
Well,
It is with 1.1.
yeah, if we put it's 587,000, is that correct? 593. Where do you see that?
Down the bottom corner.
What, 593?
Yeah, 593 change.
Yeah, you take that-
35 or something.
You take it out of the 1.1 million. So you would have close to 500,000 left in your contingency.
Is that the right contingency number?
Yes, it is a change order to the outer loop contract,
Yeah.
because it just extends the LEO one. line.
And it's not-
Already part of that.
It's in the total dollar amount. It's not really like
Okay.
contingency, but that's what we know it's for.
So in discussing that, put it in the loop section, give me a little slide that talks about it. Right, so you're gonna have that loop where you're telling what number it is in that conversation. I think future change order, put it actually in that and give me some sort of a drawing if you can.
But we're gonna go ahead.
Give me some sort of drawing explanation so that we can at least talk about it. We're not voting on it. Don't say we're not voting on it, but it is something that we need to keep moving forward.
But we are gonna go ahead and put it in the financing plan, so we don't have to do another financing
Right.
plan to do that when it comes up. Got it.
Just making sure that what you were just showing us, this ain't a financing amendment, the 1.1.
Well, it will be.
Yes.
So you're gonna change, you're gonna,
Yeah, that's.
I'm gonna put the money in the outer loop project.
She's,
This action item will set up the financing plan correctly, and then the action item related to the change order will follow separately.
yes.
I think I can choke that out. Any
And I'll
questions?
change this to show that.
Is there any questions from you guys? You guys following what we're doing here on this?
I see that number.
Five, eight, five.
Scroll up,
Okay,
there's a sheet before that, it's got 1% bond right there.
okay. I just thought I was going crazy. I'm approving.
Well, just tell them we didn't get it in time for for it to be posted, but we did want to talk about it, it's coming.
Thank you.
It's not gonna delay a project, is it, David?
No, yeah, I got it worked out.
If you look at this, our meeting is gonna be, fairly simple. It's just gonna be those slides that we showed. I'm gonna go. You're gonna think about this. You're going after me, Tracy, right, with this. You don't need to go before right here. So I'll just go through our projects. He's gonna add those, a couple Veterans Boulevard, Third Street. If you add this little portion on for discussion purposes on the outer loop, that would be our agenda. For the both groups, what we've been really focusing on is, completing the projects you've just seen. We think we got, next one will really be kicking off really are that Veterans Boulevard, Third Street. A lot of that just has to do with getting available dollars. One of the things I know that we all know that we've really focused in on in this last year is finishing these big projects we've got and then backfilling most of our land fund. If you've noticed, that's what we've really worked on in creating really what you would look for the next 5-6 years of projects into the future. And so there are some land that we bought, some properties that are being sold that really has the dollars that are needing to go through the system before we can release a couple of these new projects. And so I think most of that is gonna happen in the third quarter. We're gonna talk about some of those. But also as a group, the project group, we've been really focusing in on the master plan, and Cody is really far along. Did I present that? Did we do any? The last board meeting?
I don't know, I think Bob alluded to
We've
the.
got an update on it. At the past board meeting.
That's what I thought, what was fairly high level.
It was very high.
Now he's getting, for us, of the group, we gotta really look at that, report he's got, so he's really moved forward, and so. Really, through the rest of the year, we're buttoning up a couple of these projects that we just have gone over, we're gonna start really looking at being prepared to put out the next 2 or 3 projects. And then take a good look at, all our, land fund closings, we'll probably be re-meeting like this, I would say. Beginning of the third quarter, somewhere in that time frame, to really take a look at, okay, what the dust is settled and where we are. And what we'd like to do is I got a little bit of an update, just a little 6 slides that if we can go into executive session, that will just show you some of the other thoughts that the, both the RC master plan committee is working on and some of the land projects we've got going on. And just so I don't accidentally say something I'm not supposed to, that's why we probably should go into an executive session so that.
I think that's a good idea.
Just
Just think it's a good idea to do an executive session. Yes, it's we can.
Ready to go to executive session, I think there's something after we.
Yeah, I'll read it in. Which, number 2.
It's making a big assumption.
The-
We have
the-
already said something that we should.
Yeah, I know. The agenda item number 2 is receive and discuss briefing regarding certain economic development projects and potential real property acquisitions. And then pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.072 and .087, the project committee and finance committee may meet in a closed session to discuss or deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the government body in negotiations with a third person, discuss or deliberate commercial or financial information received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the city of Temple, and with the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to such business prospect